most ferocious attacks I've ever seen in my police career. They tried to take a photo of him at the scene, but members of the public came and screamed and shouted, and they left in the two cars.
January 28th, 2023, a Saturday night in Walsall. Bailey Atkinson, 21 years old, has minutes to live. July 8th, 2024, just 18 months later. Same town, different victim. Connor Brookes, 20 years old, sitting in a parked van. A stolen car pulls alongside. A shotgun blast echoes through the street. Two young men, two brutal murders. But here's what makes this case different. Connor Brookes had nothing to do with Bailey Atkinson's death. He was never there, never involved, never charged. So why was he killed? Because his brother was one of Bailey's killers. Welcome back to True Crime Page, where we dive deep into the raw, unfiltered truth behind Britain's hidden drug wars, gang violence, and the lives left shattered in their wake. Tonight we step into a story where one murder ignited a cycle of revenge, a chain reaction that would end with an innocent life taken. This is the story of two families destroyed by the same weapon, vengeance, and a brutal reminder that in the world of street justice, no one is ever truly safe. If you're new here, and you're drawn to unflinching stories that refuse to fade into silence, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community dedicated to uncovering the cases others would rather forget. To understand why Connor Brookes died, we have to go back 18 months earlier, to a Saturday night in Walsall Town Centre, to the moment Bailey Atkinson's fate was sealed. It was on January 28th, 2023. Somewhere in Walsall, a group of teenagers are preparing for murder. They steal two vehicles. They arm themselves with machetes and large knives. And they go hunting. Their target? Bailey Atkinson, 21 years old, someone's son, brother, and friend. What happened next was captured on CCTV, and the footage would shock even the most experienced detectives who'd seen it all. Bailey is spotted in the town center. The stolen vehicles race toward him. He runs. He's being chased by a pack, and he knows what's coming. They try to run him over first. The cars swerve, engines roaring, hunting him down like an animal. But Bailey manages to dodge them. Then they corner him. The gang surrounds him, machetes and knives in hand. And what follows is almost impossible to comprehend. 32 times. Bailey Atkinson was stabbed 32 times. Think about that. That's not a fight. That's not self-defense. That's a frenzy. That's rage. That's murder in its most brutal, unforgiving form. Paramedics arrive within minutes. They're faced with a scene of absolute carnage. Bailey's injuries are so severe that surgeons perform open-heart surgery right there on the street, desperately trying to save his life. But it's too late. Bailey Atkinson dies in hospital, his family left to process the unthinkable. Their 21-year-old son, butchered in the street by a mob of teenagers. The investigation moves quickly. CCTV has captured everything. The stolen vehicles are traced, and within days, arrests are made. 7 teenagers are charged with murder. 7, some barely old enough to drive, coordinated a murder in broad strokes that would horrify a community. Among those 7 was a young man named Patrick Brookes. Remember that name, because Patrick Brookes's involvement in Bailey's murder would seal his own brother's fate. The trial is comprehensive. The evidence is everywhere. The CCTV doesn't lie, the forensics don't lie. And in the end, justice is served, at least in the legal sense. All 7 are convicted of murder. 7 killers behind bars. 138 years of prison sentences. Bailey Atkinson's family finally has justice. But here's what most people don't understand about gang violence. A judge's verdict? It means nothing on the streets. A prison sentence? That doesn't settle the score. Legal justice and street justice are 2 completely different worlds. And in the world of the streets, the only justice that matters is the kind that spills blood. Patrick Brookes and his 6 co-defendants were convicted. Case closed. But on the streets, the case was just beginning. Because somewhere in Walsall, someone connected to Bailey Atkinson was processing their grief differently. They weren't satisfied with convictions. They weren't satisfied with life sentences. They wanted revenge. And that's how the cycle works. Attack leads to counterattack. Murder leads to murder. One family's pain becomes another family's nightmare. It's a wheel that keeps turning, fueled by rage and loss, crushing everyone in its path. But revenge isn't instant. It's calculated. It's patient. 18 months. That's how long they waited. 18 months of planning. 18 months of watching. 18 months of choosing the right moment, the right target, the right weapon. And here's the thing that makes this revenge particularly chilling. They didn't go after Patrick Brookes. They couldn't. He was locked away, untouchable behind prison walls. So they did what people seeking revenge often do when they can't reach their target directly. They went after his family. Connor Brookes probably never thought about his brother's crime every single day. He was trying to live his life, work, friends, normal 20-year-old things. But someone else was thinking about it. They were watching where Connor went, learning his routines, figuring out when he'd be vulnerable. And on July 8th, 2024, they decided it was time. Time to balance the scales. Time to make Patrick Brookes feel the same pain Bailey Atkinson's family felt. Time to take a life for a life. Connor Brookes was about to become a victim of a crime he had nothing to do with. Murdered for sins he never committed. Killed because of his last name. His only connection to Bailey's death was biology. And in the twisted mathematics of street revenge, that was enough. It's early evening. Connor and a friend are sitting in a parked van. Normal, mundane, safe. Then a car appears, a stolen Ford Focus. It pulls alongside the van, positioning itself perfectly. Connor doesn't even notice it at first. Why would he? He's not involved in gang violence. He's not looking over his shoulder. He's just existing. But the people in that Ford Focus, they've been planning this moment for months. A window rolls down. A shotgun appears. One blast. Connor Brookes dies instantly. His friend, sitting right next to him, is hit by the spray. Injured, but alive. A witness to the execution of an innocent man. The Ford Focus speeds away, leaving behind carnage and grief and 2 more families destroyed by the same cycle of violence. Connor's brother took part in killing Bailey. Therefore, someone connected to Connor had to die. The scales had to be balanced. The debt had to be paid. And Connor paid it. With his life. Think about the cruelty of that for a moment. Bailey Atkinson was murdered by people who chose violence. Connor Brookes was murdered for being related to someone who chose violence. Bailey's killers took a son from his family. Connor's killers took a son from his family. 2 families, 2 funerals, 2 sets of parents burying their children. both destroyed by the same weapon, revenge. But here's the most heartbreaking part. Connor's death didn't bring Bailey back. It didn't ease his family's pain. It didn't undo the horror of that January night. It just added more names to a list of young men who never got to grow old. More mothers crying at gravesides. More futures stolen. More proof that revenge doesn't heal anything. It just spreads the wound. Once again, investigators in Walsall are working a murder case. Once again, they're tracking down killers. Once again, a family is demanding justice. But this time, the roles have reversed. The investigation moves quickly. Witnesses come forward. The stolen Ford Focus is located. CCTV footage traces the vehicle's movements before and after the shooting. And within weeks, 3 men are arrested. Jake Sandbrook, Byron Selleck, Julian Falconer. 3 men who decided that Connor Brookes had to die for his brother's sins. 3 men who thought murder would somehow balance the scales. The trial takes place in May 2025. The prosecution lays out the case piece by piece. The planning, the stolen vehicle, the shotgun, the execution. The verdict comes back guilty. All 3 men, convicted of murder, life sentences, minimum terms of 29 years each. 3 more young men who will spend the best decades of their lives behind bars. 3 more families torn apart. And you know what's haunting about this? The symmetry. 7 teenagers locked up for Bailey's murder. 3 men locked up for Connor's murder. That's 10 people in prison. 2 young men in graves. And for what? Bailey Atkinson's family had to bury their 21-year-old son. They had to process the horror of how he died. 32 stab wounds, murdered in the street by a pack of teenagers. Their pain is unimaginable. Connor Brookes' family had to bury their 20-year-old son. They had to watch the news reports, read the headlines, hear people call it revenge for Bailey's murder. And they had to live with the knowledge that Connor died for nothing he did, nothing he was involved in, nothing he could have prevented. Their pain is equally unimaginable. 2 families, both destroyed by violence, both grieving sons who will never come home, both asking the same impossible question: why? Bailey's mother will never see her son get married, never meet his children, never watch him grow old. Connor's mother will never see her son get married, never meet his children, never watch him grow old. The same loss, the same hole that can never be filled, the same nightmare that will replay in their minds for the rest of their lives. And here's the cruelest truth of all. Connor's death didn't bring Bailey back. The convictions didn't bring Connor back. Justice in both courtrooms didn't undo the damage. It just ended. 2 families forever broken, 10 people in prison, 2 graves. The cycle of revenge promised satisfaction. It promised balance. It promised that making someone else feel your pain would somehow lessen it. It delivered none of those things. It just created more pain, more loss, more families drowning in grief. And somewhere in the UK right now, another young man is planning revenge for another murder. Another family will be destroyed. Another cycle will begin. This isn't just their story. This is happening all across the UK. Every single day. Let me give you some numbers. In England and Wales, there were over 50,000 knife crime offenses recorded in 2023 alone. 50,000. That's 137 knife crimes every single day. Nearly 6 every single hour. And behind every one of those statistics is a real person, a real family, real grief. Gang violence and revenge attacks are tearing communities apart. Not just in Walsall, not just in major cities, everywhere. Small towns, suburbs, places where people thought this kind of violence couldn't reach them. And here's what makes it so insidious. It's young people doing this to each other. Children becoming killers. Teenagers throwing away their entire lives for something they call respect or loyalty or justice. and it's often tied to something that sounds almost ridiculous to outsiders. Postcodes. Postcode wars. Territorial violence. You're from the wrong area, so you're the enemy. You cross into the wrong neighborhood, you might not make it home. Imagine that. Imagine being killed because you live on the wrong street. That's the world some young people are navigating every single day. And the innocent people? The ones like Connor Brookes, who want nothing to do with gangs or violence. They get caught in the crossfire. Because in gang violence, there are no neutral parties. Your brother's involved? You're a target. Your friends involved? You're at risk. You live in the wrong area. You're vulnerable. It doesn't matter if you've never picked up a weapon. It doesn't matter if you're actively trying to stay away from violence. The cycle doesn't care about your innocence. So let's talk about the real cost here. Lives lost. Bailey and Connor are just two names on a list that grows every single year. Young men mostly. Teenagers. Some still children. Dead before they turn 25. Families destroyed. Mothers, fathers, siblings, friends. All left behind to piece together their shattered lives. To attend funerals instead of graduations. To visit graves instead of homes. Young people imprisoned. 10 people are behind bars because of Bailey and Connor's deaths. 10 people who will spend decades in prison cells. Their potential wasted. Their futures stolen. Not by others, but by their own choices to perpetuate violence. And communities living in fear. Neighborhoods where parents are terrified to let their kids walk to the corner shop. Where teenagers take different routes home from school to avoid certain streets. Where the sound of a car backfiring makes people hit the ground. That's not normal. That shouldn't be normal. But it has become normal in too many places. This is what the cycle of revenge creates. Not justice, not peace, not safety. Just more violence, more death, more grief. A wheel that keeps turning, crushing everyone in its path, while communities watch helplessly and wonder when it will stop. And the answer? It stops when people choose to stop it, when someone breaks the cycle instead of continuing it, when revenge is replaced with something harder, something braver, like choosing not to kill. If you or someone you know is affected by gang violence, there is help available. Organizations like St. Giles Trust, Red Thread, and the Ben Kinsella Trust work to prevent youth violence and support those trying to leave gang life. You don't have to do this alone. If this story affected you, please consider supporting youth violence prevention programs in your community. Every young life saved is a cycle broken. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Not for me, but because these stories need to be told. Because maybe, just maybe, the next person who's considering revenge will choose something different.